Greetings, brothers and sisters, and welcome to the 26th Constitutional Convention of the Transport Workers Union. We were founded on the principles of militant industrial trade unionism and equal rights and opportunities for all workers, core values that we have steadfastly nurtured and aggressively defended throughout our history. We are gathered here this week to chart the course for our international union in an atmosphere of labor solidarity, but more importantly, with resolute purpose to do the best we possibly can for the thousands of dedicated TWU members across America who elect us and expect us to fight for them on the job, at the bargaining table, and in the political arena. We, as representatives of the TWU, from shop steward to section officer to executive board member to local-wide officer, hold a sacred trust to do our utmost to fulfill the faith our members have placed in us to do the right thing. Many of us here at this convention are veteran officers who have dedicated our lives to the betterment of our co-workers and the good and welfare of our union. Others are newer to the fight and have seen the good that our union brings to the job and to our society and want to be a part of it. To all of you, I say thank you for your hard work and dedication. It is not an easy path we have chosen, but it's a noble path that provides great personal reward when we look ourselves in the mirror each day. When we gathered here 4 years ago for our 25th Constitutional Convention, I was able to report that we had made great organizational strides. I told you that we had turned the International around financially from an organization near the brink of bankruptcy to a tougher, leaner union that spent less and delivered more. We have continued over the past 4 years to build our fiscal strength, and I'm happy to tell you that we are now financially capable of fighting any fight we deem necessary in the courts, in the halls of Congress, in the corporate boardrooms, or on the streets of our cities. We brought the TWU back from the edge of the financial cliff we were on in 2013, and we've now grown the union by more than 10% through organizing the unorganized. We continued that great progress after the 25th convention by scoring an organizing victory among JetBlue's in-flight crew members, which at the time was the largest organizing victory anywhere in the labor movement for many years. But we didn't stop there. Our organizing department continued to roll up wins at numerous other properties in the airline and transit industries, including growing our presence in bike share and micro transit. We won a huge contractual victory at American Airlines that not only catapulted our members financially with a best-in-the-industry agreement, but we stopped the carrier dead in its tracks from sending our jet mechanic work overseas. It was an enormous breakthrough victory for our members at American Airlines after years of bargaining, years of court battles, and political fights. It was a true statement victory in our fight against the airline industry's addiction to sending work to foreign maintenance bases. No other union is even trying to push back against the relentless drive by the airlines on offshoring our work. Also, in our airline division, we settled the first contract for our flight attendants at Allegiant Airlines. Our steadfast efforts were rewarded with better schedules, financial gains, and respect on the job. Contract wins also came at numerous flight dispatcher properties. In transit, we earned a tremendous contract victory for our 40,000 Local 100 members at New York City Transit. The success came after a rally of more than 10,000 members in Lower Manhattan in late 2019. The New York media described it as the largest labor rally in decades. It sent an unmistakable message, not only transit management, but also to the politicians and the media, that the TWU is the most united and militant force for working families in the entire region. We also scored vital contract victories throughout our 3 operating divisions, including at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, where our members at Local 1400 were without a contract agreement for more than 6 years due to New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's refusal to bargain in good faith with the public sector. As soon as we were rid of Christie's anti-union administration, we were able to break through in a big way with Governor Phil Murphy, where we played an outsized role in helping him reach the governor's mansion. We settled good contracts that provided financial and health benefit security at all our major transit properties, including San Francisco, Columbus, Houston, Philadelphia, and Miami. We won a huge victory for our railroad division members, preserving the jobs of those employed in onboard food and beverage service at Amtrak. This victory happened after big demonstrations in New York, Washington, D.C., and Boston that received national press coverage. That battle is ongoing. Amtrak bosses continue their love affair with contractors to provide prepackaged sandwiches instead of a real, friendly, person-to-person service that makes a trip on Amtrak a special experience. We scored solid contract victories for our railroad division members at Amtrak, the MBTA in Boston, and our members covered by the National Freight Agreement and Union Tank Car. The election of President Biden, a deep believer in passenger rail, means good things for our membership at Amtrak. In fact, the TWU was one of only 3 unions to be invited by the president to his speech at the 50th anniversary celebration of Amtrak in Philadelphia. This honor underscored the value of the TWU's long friendship with President Biden, as well as how he views our political influence across all transport sectors. We pushed back hard in Columbus, Ohio, where the transit agency there had embarked on a romance with autonomous vehicles. That's a bad idea anywhere, but especially dangerous in public transportation, where so many things can go wrong with public safety and only a well-trained professional operator has the capacity to deal with. We won that battle, but robotic buses and advancing technology throughout transit will continue to be a major battle for the TWU for years to come, and it's a fight we have no intention of backing away from. Organizationally, we have built political strength in Washington, D.C., and in state capitals and major cities across the country where the TWU maintains a strong membership presence. We continue to improve our ability to communicate with our officers and members, and we've also begun building unity among our divisions so that a fight in one section of our union becomes a fight for all of us. In fact, for the first 2.5 years since our last convention, all of the arrows in our divisions and professional departments were pointing in the right direction. Then came COVID. Suddenly, everything that we knew, everything that we thought was normal, the way we lived our day-to-day lives, the way our government functioned, the way we traveled, the way we worked, the way we socialized, was all turned upside down overnight. COVID presented a challenge to the international and our local unions like nothing before in our long and storied history. It tested the mettle of every international and local officer with unprecedented challenges. In the snap of a finger, a thriving airline industry faced economic calamity. Amtrak, commuter railroads, and public transportation lost up to 90% of their ridership in just a matter of days. These events threatened widespread loss of jobs and benefits to our members. It was a nightmarish scenario that tested our union at every level, especially on the political front, where a war began over how government relief would be disseminated. It was no time for the faint of heart, but one thing that has always been driven home to me during my years as a member and officer of this union is that when things are at its worst, that's when the TWU is at its best. Our first priority was the safety of our members on the job. The vast majority of our people are essential workers. Our cities and our nation could not forfeit the ability to move. Society can function with closed office buildings, with shuttered nightclubs and bars, with boarded up state and national parks, but America cannot function without its transit systems, its railroads, and its airlines. Our transportation networks, along with the healthcare system, became central to our nation's ability to fight back against this virus. Our members were the grunts on the front lines of this fight, but management was sending them into battle without proper equipment. Access to proper PPE to mitigate against the spread of the virus on our properties was in some cases very limited and in other cases totally unavailable. We pushed back hard where management dragged their heels, and we identified our own sources for masks, and we obtained them by the thousands and shipped them out to our locals who were in most need across the country. We demonstrated to our members that their union would go the extra mile to keep them safe. We forced management to recognize that the TWU would not rest until our people had adequate supplies of masks, gloves, hand sanitizers, proper PPE to mitigate against the spread of this pandemic. Our locals also shepherded other vital safety improvements, including rear door boarding on buses, no fare collections, restricted areas around bus operators and train operators, better driving shields, alternating work schedules, and many more, all in the name of safety and social distancing. But more was needed. The TWU became the tip of the spear in winning mask mandates for passengers across all transport modes, including public transit, Amtrak, and the airlines. We were the first union to demand the mask mandate, and we steered that debate nationally. This may very well have been the earliest turning point in the fight against COVID-19. One of the most difficult parts of the COVID battle was being fought behind closed doors in Washington, D.C. There was a consensus in Congress that a COVID relief package was necessary to keep the country from economic collapse, but there was no consensus on how to structure the package so that it was in the best interest of the workers of America. This is where our efforts at building a political action program that could punch above our weight really paid off. The TWU became a key part of the negotiations for the transportation sector to keep our members getting their paychecks and to protect the healthcare benefits of our members who face furloughs. These were not easy negotiations. In the end, the numbers we helped secure for payroll protection in the airline, transit, and railroad industries and for unemployment and COBRA relief for Americans across the nation were nothing short of miraculous. In total, Congress authorized $168 billion in direct aid to the transportation industry, with the unprecedented stipulation that 100% of this emergency aid be used for pay and job protections in most cases. That means that transit, airline, or rail management could use the money for only one thing: paychecks. They were barred from using it to fatten their own pockets with executive bonuses or stock buybacks. This would have never happened without the TWU and the labor movement's relentless push to force Congress to do the right thing. A breakdown of all those billions shows that nearly $70 billion plus an additional $12 billion in traditional budgetary spending went to mass transit. To get the money, the transit agency had to certify that they would not furlough any workers. This is incredible paycheck security for public sector transit workers, and the TWU is largely responsible for this victory. We won $63 billion for the airlines and airline contractors' payroll support programs, plus an additional $29 billion in loans and loan guarantees. The companies who accepted the money had to agree to maintain all workers at their current pay rates for the duration of the program. While the program briefly expired in October and December of last year, the TWU was successful in getting all furloughed airline workers recalled to service with full back pay for the month of December 2020. At Amtrak, we secured $4.7 billion in emergency aid and an additional $1 billion in traditional spending. This was all accomplished with a backdrop of some employers, like Southwest Airlines and the MTA in New York, using the pandemic as an excuse to demand concessions or threatening to withhold negotiated pay raises. We fought back aggressively wherever this underhanded tactic was used, and I'm proud to say that we won the day every time. More than 30 million Americans lost their jobs at the height of the pandemic. We in the TWU did a stellar job of preventing layoffs among TWU members. Our efforts directly stopped the furlough of over 20,000 workers. Unfortunately, we could not prevent it all. Some of our employers, especially in our school bus and tour bus industries, imposed furloughs. To mitigate against this job loss, we advocated strongly for the Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, legislation that provided additional unemployment benefits. This was a vital economic lifeline for those who were furloughed. Thanks to the TWU, we were able to right a wrong regarding railroad unemployment that was initially excluded from the unemployment bill. We quickly had the legislation amended to provide parity with state-based unemployment programs, not only for our railroad members, but for many thousands of railroad workers across the country. On healthcare, we fought for a clause in the relief bills guaranteeing 100% federal reimbursement for COBRA costs for workers who lost healthcare because of COVID-related job layoffs. Finally, we won priority access to vaccinations for all transportation workers so that our members would be included in Section 1B of the program. As a result, TWU members who wanted the vaccine were among the first to get it. The fight against COVID and the variants that continue to threaten the world is not over, but the fights that we have already won regarding safety on the job remain in place for as long as needed and beyond. As elected TWU leaders, we can all be proud of our efforts to save lives, save jobs, and protect the families of thousands of our members. It was a complete organizational endeavor that produced incredible results in a short period of time under the most difficult of circumstances. While many so-called leaders at all levels of government, from Washington, D.C. to state capitals and city halls throughout the country, seemed either paralyzed to act or fell into a punch-drunk partisan malaise, we in the TWU stepped up early to fight for our members' rights on the job. This early incursion into the fray enabled us to set the tone that COVID-19 was more than anything a threat to working families, not to the elites who could work from a laptop from their second homes in the country. That baseline reality then enabled us to craft the relief packages and stimulus spending to the advantage of working families rather than corporate bottom lines. None of our success, however, will blunt the pain that we feel for our brothers and sisters who perished due to this plague. More than 150 TWU members across our divisions, including more than 100 members from my beloved home, Local 100 in New York, succumbed to COVID-19. We will grieve this loss for many years to come. Part of their legacy will always be a national acknowledgement that transportation workers are essential to the entire economic structure of the United States of America. We in the TWU always knew that our members are essential workers. Now the entire country knows it. In closing, no report on the past 4 years could be complete without the mention of the serious issues of race and immigration that are causing such division across our nation. The TWU's founding president, Michael J. Quill, was an immigrant from Ireland who believed deeply in the promise of America, but only if that promise was offered equally to all workers, regardless of race, creed, color, or political affiliation, a core premise that was included in the preamble of our great TWU original Constitution. In 1938, a reporter for a racist media outlet poked Quill about his efforts to organize all workers into one industrial union. Quill answered bluntly, "If we black and white are good enough to sweat and slave together, we are good enough to join in one union together." That simple yet profound statement is the history of the TWU. We are a union of immigrants, of men and women of all nationalities, a human kaleidoscope. That is the TWU. To me, the fight for equality in America begins in the workplace. Preferably, that workplace is union, because a union contract does not discriminate. A contract is a vital guarantor of economic stability, access to health care, and access to a stable, dignified retirement. All workers in the same title earn exactly the same under a TWU union contract. Women earn exactly the same as men in the same title under a union contract. All working people have one common enemy, the boss. The TWU has provided a pathway to economic security for generations of workers from all communities across America. Economic equality is the foundation for a truly equal America. We in the TWU strive daily to build on the contracts we already have in place and to expand the TWU message and TWU representation through organizing new classes of workers who need what our members already have. I believe this is our mission as union leaders in the fight for a just society. We are uniquely positioned to contribute toward a better nation because we do it every day on the ground, in the trenches, by fighting to guarantee that working Americans get a fair shake on the job where it counts most. This is our role. Let's do it faithfully and with energy and integrity. Thank you. God bless the TWU. Let's get to work on the next 4 years.